Well, it's projected that there is a possibility of voter apathy, just like you heard from our reporters there, on Saturday following the violence in the build-up to the off-cycle elections. Well, at a pre-election briefing, the civil rights group Yiaga Africa expressed concerns about voter intimidation. It emphasized the need for 11th hour confidence building, voter education to improve voter turnout.
Yiaga Africa states emphatically that the successful administration of a peaceful and transparent election is dependent on the effective collaboration and coordination with respective institutions like the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Nigerian Police, and other security agencies. For instance, INEC requires adequate security protection to deploy materials to some highly volatile local government areas in Imo State that are prone to violence. And these are Agitators, Osu LGAs, among others.
And we hope that in these 3 states, that early deployments and availability of materials are present across all polling units in these states. Number 2, collation and returning officers deployed in the election should be individuals of proven integrity and impeccable character. INEC should ensure effective oversight to enforce compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and guidelines on results collation. Number 3, INEC should ensure proper and timely communication with stakeholders on election day process, including highlighting their challenges experienced and immediate plans to address those challenges to inspire citizens' confidence in the process.
Well, joining us now to discuss the preparations of the elections are Sani Adams, who is the INEC National Commissioner North Central, and Cynthia Mbamalu, who's the Director of Programs Yiaga Africa. Good to see you both. Let's quickly start with Cynthia. We just saw you there and perhaps expressing your concerns. Let us in on some of the key things. Your group has been able to uncover a few threats or worries on issues like intimidation and threats to some individuals who may be coming out to cast their ballot on the day. Could you expatiate?
Yeah, so this elections is one that would be conducted within a complex security situation in Imo State. So Imo in its sense, so beyond the general insecurity that we have in Imo State, is the question around the threat by the secessionist agitators in some local government areas and the instances of the unknown gunmen. And because I was in Imo last week, I got back this week, and we had engagement with civil society groups in the state. And part of what our pre-election observation also revealed was the fact that in Imo State, for instance, you have a situation where the intimidation of different layers. First, there's intimidation by I would say the political party actors within the state, and in this case the unequal playing field created by the ruling party. So for instance, campaigns, you would drive through Owerri, you could see only campaign posters of the ruling party, and the question is, why do you have campaign posters of just one party? But we saw that there was a circular that was passed, and so you put up posters and billboards, there was a fine of about 54 million. So there is that fear of, okay, there was that level of intimidation. But then you also had intimidation by these, would I call them the secessionist agitators, who were threatening people in some local government that you cannot vote. In fact, also local government area, there were no activities by the Electoral Commission until the last week of October and first week of November. So previous elections for also local government was done in Owerri because INEC had to move its staff and personnel from that location because these guys in those communities said, no, you can't just have elections related issues. So you have people who are afraid that going out to vote may also be a threat to their life. In Oguta local government, for instance, now Oguta borders Anambra, River State and Delta State. Now you have a community that is, because Oguta is riverine, and it also borders Uli community in Anambra. Now those locations are highly volatile. So you have voters who are living there who do not even believe that the security can secure them. So the level of intimidation, there is that by the non-state actors, but there's also that fear that there may be, what I call it, undue interference by the ruling party in the state with the process. So and those are issues that need to be addressed, because voters, for one, need to come out to vote, but they need to be confident enough that coming out to vote means that they are secured. And I think for Imo and for most of the states, there's a challenge with confidence in the process. And what are we saying about confidence? Now, this is an election. This is the first off-cycle election post the general elections that were quite controversial and contentious, and post the ruling of the court. So you have an increasing or a dwindling level of distrust, or deepening level, I wouldn't call it apathy now, it's just lack of trust in the system.
Right.
And so you also have a situation where the Electoral Commission and security agencies need to instill confidence and ensure that tomorrow there's compliance with the guidelines, and that what is meant to be done are actually what we see in the field, especially in Imo State.
All right, let's bring in Sani Adams, INEC Commissioner in North Central. Sani Adams, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, you are midwifing the elections. You're stationed there in Kogi State, and Kogi, unfortunately, is one of the flashpoints, one of the states of concern as the people go to the polls tomorrow. Let's talk about the last-minute confidence-building mechanism. Does INEC have anyone at all? I mean, you have a voter education arm. What are you doing to get the people to, regain confidence in your process?
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. INEC has done whatever that is required to be done by law. We have followed all the processes up to today, and by tomorrow, polls will open on time, and all the processes that are supposed to take place at the polling units will, of course, occur seamlessly. We have deployed adequately sensitive materials and non-sensitive materials to all the locations that they are supposed to be deployed to. We have built confidence by having stakeholder engagement with the politicians, with the media, with the civil society groups, and we have interacted adequately with security agencies. And we have done the peace accord signing with traditional rulers and other stakeholders as a confidence building mechanism to build confidence that INEC will deliver free, fair, and credible election. Kogi, of course, is volatile, but of recent, I think there has been a lot of calmness, a lot of confidence building, and the citizens are operating within the law. INEC has been and will continue to operate within the gamut and the entire substratum of the legal framework. That comprises, of course, the Electoral Act, regulations and guidelines, and we are going to be very compliant. We have trained ad hoc staff for this business, and our own staff who are highly professionalized involved in this election. There is no room for error. We are just calling on the politicians to behave very well. They must have done their mobilization adequately, and citizens are coming out tomorrow by the grace of God to vote without any voter intimidation. The security apparatus is in place. There is security adequately deployed in Kogi State. The entire state is occupied by security agents, both military and paramilitary. Of course, the polling units will be manned by the police. The police is the lead agency in electoral security. There will be certainly no voter intimidation. There will be full deployment of the beavers as the technology that is available to INEC. And we have seen what the technology has done in the last general election and the supplementary elections. We have confidence in our processes, and they are going to be very, very transparent. Nigerians will certainly not be disappointed. But again, we have to put a caveat that the political actors must behave very well. INEC will certainly not reward bad behavior. We will operate within the laws. Where the laws are not conformed with, and for whatever reason there is disruption occasioned by the act of political actors, INEC will apply the laws without fear or favor.
Right.
We are not certainly going to
Sani
reward bad
Adams.
behavior. We are going to operate within the ambience of the law, and we are going to be very strict, and we will ensure that we deliver free, fair, and credible election by tomorrow, by the grace of God. And of course, collation will take place. The collation officers are all here. They have been adequately deployed.
I think
We are
perhaps
deployed
this is the part I can just quickly butt in. Sani Adams, now you're talking about collation. Apologies for butting in. You're talking about collation. Could you please, if you can do this in a minute, give us a sense of how it will go, talking about the timelines for tomorrow, when voting is expected to start and end, and when collation is expected to begin?
Not too sure.
Extremely crystally transparent. And we have the assurance of the Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria of non-interference in the entire process. And nobody is going to intimidate INEC. INEC has fully deployed, and INEC is fully prepared.
He has answered the question.
Well, I think it looks like, well, he was unable to get that question in. But again, let's see if we can wrap up this.
Yes, with Cynthia.
Yes.
Cynthia Mbamalu, I mean, you heard the INEC chief there in North Central. There are concerns about voter apathy, and there. What other concerns do you have as the people go to the polls tomorrow in Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi State?
Well, I think one
How
major...
do you think those challenges can actually be overcome? That's what's important.
Yeah, so logistics. Why? Because these are states that historically have also experienced issues with logistics. Elections day deployment. In 2019, Bayelsa, you had by 10 a.m. barely 20% of polling units had opened or commenced elections, and we also had issue in Kogi. And so one of the things I'm hoping that the Electoral Commission and even the security supporting Electoral Commission would achieve is that that the deployment that happened this evening, because INEC had moved to the rack, that in the morning of tomorrow that polling units would open on time, and that by 8:30 that you have the process commencing across a majority of the polling units. And that way you would also inspire confidence, because when citizens come and queue for so long and wait and the process don't start on time, it also affects the level of confidence in the process. So that is one, commencement, early commencement, but deployment of adequate materials across board. And I think for this election we need to uphold the standards of electoral integrity, meaning that where there are locations where elections did not hold, INEC should make efforts to ensure that those polling units have elections. And we've seen instances where polling units do not have elections, but INEC just concludes, and there's always this presumption that it's not a substantial number. If voters turn out to vote in a location, even if it's 5 people, as long as they turned out to vote, they have a right to vote. And I say this because in 2019, in Bayelsa, we had locations like in southern Niger, where the materials capsized in the ocean, and some words within that location that's covered lots of polling units. In fact, about 20% of our polling units did show that there were no elections in those locations, but results were declared. And so the question is, even if there are just a few number, once voters turn out, it's important that the Electoral Commission makes available the materials for them to vote, or make arrangements for them to vote on a later time. And so for me, that is very important, managing logistics, but communication. If there are challenges on elections, they will need INEC to duly communicate with us. One challenge we had in the last election is because INEC was silent for so long, where steps in the guidelines were not adhered to. So for these elections, we need due communication, timely communication that explains the process, and if there are changes, we also want to be informed so that voters will be carried along in the process. And I do hope that stakeholders abide by the rules, especially the political parties.
Let's give it another shot now to Sani Adams, and quickly, if we can do this in a minute. I wanted to take us through the timelines for tomorrow. When do we expect to start and end voting in Kogi?
What I want to emphasize, please, our processes are very transparent. We have made available our regulations and guidelines to the public. They are within the public domains, and every step that will be taken is well known to everybody in the country. It's on our website. We have our rules and regulations. We complied adequately with the Electoral Act. By 8 o'clock, we expect that polls will open, and of course, things being equal, at least in the evening, polls will close, and we will start counting, recording, and uploading to the IRF, and of course, collection officers will make their returns and declaration as to where. Then we will come, of course, to the headquarters here in Lokoja and do the complete collation. Hopefully by Sunday, we should be able to be through with collation. And the state returning officer, of course, will now declare and make a return accordingly. So we don't expect any disruption. And we don't expect that there will be no compliance with our processes, with our rules, guidelines, and the Electoral Act.
All right. Thank you very much, Sani Adams. Sani Adams is the INEC Commissioner, North Central. We've also been joined graciously by Cynthia Mbamalu, Director of Programs at Yiaga, Africa. Thank you, both of you. We look forward to a successful outing tomorrow as Nigerians go to the polls in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi State.